The US Surgeon General is calling this the largest teen crisis ever, or a crisis of epidemic proportions. What are they referring to? Today, we're going to address the 6 most common mental health disorders, the implications, and more specifically, what are some of the things that we can do to not only bring relief and solutions, but do our part as parents, adults, educators, leaders, and if you're a teen, yep, you have a part of this. So, what can we do? Well, let's dive in. You are listening to the No Brainers Empowering Possibilities show. These are dialogues of encouragement with fresh perspectives, invitations to ahas, a little bit of science, a dash of behavioral psychology, and a whole lot of creative fun. So if leveling up is on your radar, my friend, you are at the right show. I'm your host, Roseanne Marsh, the author of the teen and parent empowerment curriculum called Level Up, Empowering Possibilities. And you are listening to episode number 48, Activities to Help with Teen Mental Health. As teens grow up, they find themselves in a simultaneously more exciting and challenging world than ever before. And as their bodies and their minds mature, they're faced with choices about what do they want to become? What path in life will they take? What will they pursue? And how will they take care of themselves? And this can be a thrilling time for them, but it can also be one where they're very stressed out and overwhelmed, especially when teens feel like they don't have the adequate support that they need, or they don't know how to ask for support, or simply they just need a nudge and a little bit of direction to help them manage their lives at this stage in their development. This is a time when the teen brain is faster than ever because of the myelinization in their neural pathway. So they have super fast brains, but the frontal cortex, the planning, the strategy, and the problem solving, well, that's still under construction. And it's important that teens have guidance and help from adults in their lives, their parents, their teachers, their mentors, and their educators. With mental illness off charts, let's first define what mental illness is. Mental illness is health conditions involving changes in the emotions, the thinking, and behavior. Emotions, thinking, and behavior. Or it could be a combination of one or two of them. And that affects the functioning in a social setting, in their health, in their relationships, in their families, in their schools, and in their communities. Now, the upside to this is that there is a huge awareness out there and more information than ever before on how to help turn this ship around. And with the state of the world over the last 2 years, the need for mental health counselors and psychologists has just like skyrocketed off the chart. When I talked to a couple of my friends who are in that industry, they said they're getting 4 times the workload than they ever had in the past. So their wait times to get in to see someone for months out, or many are not taking on new clients, and it could be years before you can get into them. So it's no wonder that the US Surgeon General is calling this a crisis of epidemic proportions. Now, mental health concerns affect how a teen performs and feels in a home setting, in school setting, in work setting, and it has a wide range of implications throughout their life. They can affect a teen's ability to learn, to make friends, causes relationship problems, and it leads to physical and emotional symptoms. But our mental health doesn't always have to fall under the care of a professional. We as parents, as teachers, as leaders, there's a lot we can do to provide help and support and teach them some skills that they need to be able to maneuver through some of these hard times in their life. Now, it's important to add here that mental illness is something that we all experience or are experiencing right now. So empowerment around and what we have control over is really important more than ever. Now, there's some deeper mental illnesses such as schizophrenia that we're not going to address today, but I wanted to just quickly throw out the 6 most common ones and see if you relate to any of these. It's anxiety, attention deficit, autism, depression, eating disorders, and post-traumatic stress disorder. So what are some of the possible causes of mental health breakdown? Well, our basic needs as a human are being able to feel safe. You look at a triangle, being able to feel safe, being able to feel loved, and be able to feel like we have worth. So when those conditions are not met, or the perception that they are not met, that can lead to thoughts, emotions, physical symptoms that don't support our well-being and our forward development. So some of the contributors could be overwhelm, overscheduled, exposed to abusive or bullying relationships or conditions, exposed to a lot of comparison, and then having thoughts and emotions that they don't know how to control or shift, and being in a world that's seemingly going through some really unfamiliar and frankly scary times could really rock their world. And also, when we focus on some difficult or hard things that happened in the past, that can bring about depression. And then when we hyperfocus on fear or the uncertainty of the future, that can bring anxiety. But where those two meet together is the present, and that creates stress when we have allowed that mental and that cranial energy that's needed for the here and now to be in the past or in the future. And we are usurping a valuable resource that we need in the here and now. So what are some of the symptoms that you might see that could indicate some mental health issues? Now, I love this list that was given by the Mayo Clinic, and there are many others, but I think this encapsulates almost most of the symptoms that you'll see. So pay attention. If you notice someone who's feeling sad or down, if they have confused thinking or reduced ability to concentrate, if they have excessive fears or worries or extreme feelings of guilt, if they have extreme mood changes where they have like those highs and those lows, when they withdraw from friends and family or activities, things that they used to love to do, when there's significant tiredness, they have like low energy or they have problems sleeping, when they're detached from reality, when they're delusional or have paranoia or hallucinations, when there's an inability to cope with just like the everyday problems or stress, when they have trouble understanding and relating to situations and relating to other people, when there's problems with alcohol or drug use, when there's major changes in eating habits, when there's excessive anger, explosiveness, hostility, or violence, and when there's suicidal thinking. Now, it's really important for teens to know where they can reach out for help when they get to that point of suicide. And many times we don't even know that someone is going through that. But if we are constantly educating that if they need help, here is a resource. One of the things we don't want them to do is isolate at that time. But 911 in the United States is the number that you call if you want like medical or hospital, etc. But there's also a number, a 988. That's 988, and that's a new number. And that's where a counselor can be reached if you need immediate help, and they can walk them through some of the anxiety and the situations that they are going through. So whatever country you live in, what is a resource or a number that you can provide for the teens in your life in case they need that help, in case they need that lifeline? And maybe that's just a beloved person that they know that they trust and could reach out to. But so how can we as parents and leaders of teens help promote that positive mental health and that well-being? Well, I'm going to show you 5 things that we can do as parents and 5 things that as parents we support educators with to be able to bring in more well-being and more mental health. Let's talk about our things that we can do. First one is help them resolve or work through their issues. While teens really want to be independent and self-reliant, it's essential that they have a safe place where they can go and talk about their feelings, where they can have support and assistance and not feel judged. And this can be simple as just being willing to have a listening ear. And you may not even have the right words to say, but just being there, being a place that they can vent is so valuable. So being a place of that support. The second thing is teach precautions and give guidance or parameters around using technology. Information and communication, it just flows and like never before. And we're bombarded with information. And not all of that information is good information, right? So studies tell us that teens will experience more than 300 negative impressions of themselves by the time they walk out the door in the morning and by the time the day ends. 300. And depending on their cell phone usage, it could be even more if they are part of bullying or cyber bullying. So we need to set parameters or boundaries if we can, or teach them how to properly use technology. Or they can join with a power group of teens to even delete some of the most insidious apps that are creating some of the most harmful psychological damage. There are groups of enlightened teens and parents that are choosing to drop out of some of the apps that promote comparison, time wasting, disparaging things, and no essential information. So any app that delivers a message and then disappears can really be a loaded gun, because it can deliver damage and then disappear. There are teens that have eliminated some of their apps, and I wanted you to hear some of the things that they had to say. One said, boy, I missed the app for about a week because it was that thrill of seeing what others were doing that I was kind of addicted to. But then I got so many hours back in my week that I was able to put more time into a talent that I was developing. And I stayed more focused on those close friends that I really, really care about. And after all, who really cares what others are doing? Half the time, I don't know if what they're posting is really their reality. And another gal reported, after getting my own cell phone, I started getting so depressed, and those feelings just got heavier and heavier until I realized, or at least I thought it was true, that, you know what, I am never going to measure up. I decided to ask for a flip phone after I had attended a seminar that was talking about the increase in teen suicide when teens have cell phones and certain apps. And my parents thought I was crazy at first, but I knew I would be tempted to get sucked back in the drama and the comparison. I'm so much happier now, and I decided that from now on, the only comparison I'm going to do is comparing me from my behavior from yesterday or the week before. I finally feel like I can breathe again. Now, isn't that powerful? Powerful, the enlightenment that these teens came upon when they realized that this amazing tool can sometimes be an insidious way of taking down our feelings of feeling safe, feeling loved, and feeling of worth. Now, a third thing we can do as parents is teach, lead, and encourage them ways that they can overcome stress. And stress, remember, is that physical manifestation of depression and anxiety in your body. You can tangibly feel. I mean, it can be stomach aches, it can be back aches, it can be headaches, it can be fatigue, fogginess, all sorts of things are indicating that there is stress in the body. Now, a good way to take a mental break is that if you have a teen that's really sedate during the day, they're sitting at a desk all the time, working on a computer all the time, then a way for them to invigorate would be to be active, to get out and move their body. Sometimes when we feel stuck in our lives, the best way to do that is even to go out and do a walk. There is symbolism behind our body and our mind. So as we start moving our body goes, oh, we're in a movement time. And sometimes that can help jostle the brain a little bit. Now, if you have a teen that's super active all the time, then maybe what they need is downtime and some relaxation. And that will give them the mental break. The fourth thing we can do as parents is make sure that they're getting adequate sleep. Lack of sleep is one of the major contributors of mental health breakdown. So a teen body needs between 7 to 12 hours of uninterrupted sleep. So something you can do is eliminate the blue light from computers at least 2 hours before you know you're supposed to be in bed, but also developing a good sleep hygiene routine, powering down yourself and getting ready for bed. Now, as a parent, if we can shut off our Wi-Fi and phone data, that is a big way of keeping teens from staying up all night. The best case scenario, of course, is their own ability to regulate their technology. Now, the fifth thing would be the nutrition. And this is huge to look at. If your teen is consuming energy drinks and caffeinated drinks to get through the day, that can affect the sleep quality, but it's those sugars that are really hurting the brain. Now, the nutrition is absorbed in the gut, and the gut is the thing that feeds the brain. And the standard American diet, we know, is lacking in nutrition. And many of our so-called healthy foods are produced with heavy chemical fertilizers and pesticides. And processed foods and heavily fried foods, they bring no life to the body. So the way to bring life to the body, which then brings life to the brain, is by having live foods as close as Mother Nature provided them. So while we may not be able to control what our teens are eating outside of our home during the day, by incorporating delicious and nutritious brain and gut healthy foods, that can be a huge contributor to the mental health healing. If we can do a good job of controlling our controllables, then at least we're eliminating some of those things that might be an issue as to why our teen is now having these symptoms of mental health disorders. Are you curious about what the top foods are that support the brain? Well, at Level Up Teen, we have a PDF that we would love to send you that has the top brain foods that you can incorporate in those meals for your family. Go to levelupteen.com/brain, and we're going to send you a free PDF of those brain booster foods that are actually not only nutritious, but are pretty yummy. That's what we can do as parents. Now, what are some 5 things that we can do as parents to support the educators and the facilitators in our area? Parents, number 1, can volunteer and advocate for time to help roll out the mental health awareness classes, assemblies, clubs, and after-school programs. And do keep in mind that all social emotional programs are not the same. Make sure that you're familiar with the curriculum that's being taught in your school. But educators and facilitators have an important role when it comes to helping teens improve their mental health, because they really are responsible for, during that time frame, how teens will interact together. And when we can provide things where teens can open up and share what they're feeling, this can foster a sense of camaraderie so that teens know that they're not alone in the feelings that they're having. Like, wow, someone else is feeling the exact same way I am. So here are 5 things. 1 is provide a place to vent. Unfortunately, there is prejudice out there against a lot of people articulating how they feel, or there are other teens that mock or don't support. But if there's a place, a counselor or a teacher defined and identified where they feel like there's an open door policy where they can go and talk, it's a place for them to vent and relieve these heavy feelings and these anxieties or these emotions and feelings that they can't sort out, and they can't understand why they're affecting their life. Obviously, this would need to be someone who understands mental health issues, but teens need that release valve. Now, the second one would be set up a wellness week. Plan a wellness week for your school to truly put student well-being at the forefront. This allows for various relevant activities that promote discussion between teens, facilitators, and educators. And you might even invite other organizations in that focus around mental health to speak to the school and educate. And it's worthwhile to have parents come in so that they can gain that valuable information and knowledge about mental health and how they can support their adolescents. Now, my third one is teach everyone breath work. Now, if you're unfamiliar with breath work, I encourage you to listen to episode number 33 for some ideas. Now, there's no faster way to change your mood, your emotion, or your physiology than to learn how to breathe. You're like, wait a minute, I breathe. I'm a breathing human being. But no, each emotion has its own pattern of breathing. And so if we are in a certain state, we can change the way we are feeling just by changing the way we breathe, which then brings in the hormones and the chemicals that are flooding to match the breath pattern and calms our body down. Let me give you an example. When you're afraid, when you're in fear, how do you breathe? Probably like short, shallow, and rapid, right? But as we start taking deep breaths in and slow, deep breaths out, we're telling the body, hey, we're calming down. Get rid of that cortisol that you're using to be able to prepare my body to flee. And let's just get it in a state of calm so that my brain now can think calmer. It's really, really powerful. And at Level Up Teen, in our curriculum, we teach over 12 different breaths that you can do to put kind of in your arsenal, in your tool belt. You didn't know there were different ways to breathe? Oh my gosh, it is powerful. So teaching an immediate way to change your state is going to be critical, not only today, but going forward in their life. The fourth thing is teach meditation and mindfulness. Now, the ability to still your mind and calm your body, combined with that breath work we just talked about, sets you in that mental state to be able to handle your day with more empowerment. So many schools are now adopting morning meditation with breath work to create that calm, that control, that clarity to kind of set the days. And students are even sitting on top of desks to be able to participate in this. What this does is teaches them a skill of how to change their state, how to calm themselves. It prepares them for the day, but when they know this, they can also utilize this at night before they go to bed to calm themselves and put themselves in a state. Now, why is that important? Because whatever you're thinking about, whatever you're ruminating about, that's what your brain does all night, and it works on this. And by the time you get up in the morning, you're more tired, you're more frustrated, you're more full of anxiety and stress. But if we can calm our body, and at Level Up, we have some other tools that are incredibly powerful to be able to help you process through what you went through during the day, so that when you go to bed, your brain is working for you instead of against you. Now, that fifth thing is organize social clubs. Promote the formation of lunchtime clubs that are dedicated like hobbies and pursuits that students like. Maybe it's drama, baking, reading, whatever. So that allows students to relax and focus on something other than the stresses that they're experiencing in life. But those social groups can also be up-leveled to something like the anti-bullying, the anti-suicide. There's clubs such as the Hope Squad and others. Our local high school down here started up another huge group when one of their fellow classmates committed suicide. They didn't see it coming, and it startled everyone to think, how can we draw in anyone that they see that is going through any of those symptoms that I listed at the very beginning? How can they bring them in and let them understand that their life matters? This is being proactive. Now, another club that I think would be amazing are service clubs. They're powerful because it's a win-win for both involved. So there's no better way to get a dopamine hit than from that emotional boost that we get when we see how what we're doing is impacting and serving others. Now, those are those 5 things. So let me reiterate the 5 for the parents and 5 that parents can support the schools in. Number 1 is at home, help them resolve or work through their issues. Be that listening ear for your own children. Make this a zone of non-judgment and inclusiveness. Even if you don't know the words to say, teach precautions and give guidance around the parameters of technology. We know that technology is an amazing tool, but it's doing lots of harm to teens and adults alike. Teach and lead and encourage them with ways to overcome stress, whether it's exercise or changing what they're doing or getting involved in their hobbies. See what you can do to help them have better sleep hygiene so their body has that time of reparation, not only for their body, but for their mind. Really work as a family, as someone who prepares meals on the nutrition for the gut and for the brain. Now, those other 5 would be provide a place to vent. Are there counselors? Is there an open door? Is there a place for them to go? Set up a wellness week where you bring in professionals that can help with assemblies and teach those amazing things. Teach everyone breath work so that they have that in their tool belt. Teach them about meditation and mindfulness, and set up some organizations, some social clubs that do good things, that include a lot and create those communities of positive cultivation of good mental health and support. Now, if you're a school district where we have Level Up Teen facilitators, we would love to come in and help you teach about breath work and meditation as a tool to control anxiety and stress. So just reach out to us at info@levelupteen.com to see how we can support your school with assemblies, with after-school programs, with homeschooling co-ops, or to support your personal family. So we at Level Up, we want to help. There's a battle out there with mental health, and we have the tools to give your teens a solution for the challenges that they're facing today. If you want more in-depth information about these and other tools to awaken ownership, ignite empowerment, and inspire creatorship over their lives, go to levelupteen.com/learn more to find out more about the newest social emotional intelligence course with interact learning that is creating an empowered movement out there. We're teaching and training facilitators so that they can teach teens, so that they can teach groups of parents. But it's a new game out there, and we all need a new set of skills. So thank you for watching. If this information was helpful, be sure to watch the next video or go back to episode number 1 if you're new here to learn about the basics of what is happening to you every day that you may not be aware of. We are creators and we decide the direction of our life. So see you next time. Tally ho.